Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from hopefully a nice warm location that you are in, remote. We are here for our second of our BD masterclasses. This one is all about turning what we did in part one into activity and results. I'm joined again by the amazing Michelle, who's going to run this webinar for us today. Just before we do get started, I'm going to put a couple of polls in the chat. So if you are able to answer them, they're just to get a feel for who did come last time. I think it was a couple of weeks ago now that we had the session. So just to get a feel for how people found it, whether you attended. If you didn't attend, did you watch the recording? So yeah, let us know your thoughts and they will be in the chat. So Michelle, I'll hand to you.
Thank you. Just trying to present these slides, but it's having a little bit of a glitch for a sec. So just give me a mo. There we go. I think it's coming into play right now. Perfect. So welcome back, everyone, to second part. So part two. I hope you enjoyed part one, and we'll get some feedback from you from those polls, of course. So we're back, as Emily said, for part two. So this is all about this is all about action. We love action, right? We're doing. So we know now how to build lists and build things in the system. We now need to use those, put action and activity into those. So we're looking at turning activity into results. No intro needed, I don't think. You know who we are, so as you've said, Emily, already. So we'll move straight into the content. So yeah, like I say, part two is all about action. So now that we have our lists, our smart lists, think about views, think about the client contact search, and think about hot lists. So three different forms of lists that all have their unique ways of working and preferences. So I'll run through those as we go. But we now can use them as a call list or to send mail shots. These will then bring more results. So you're going to then be logging calls or running actions off of those calls. And then we'll be logging that activity into Mercury. And what we mean by that is things that I'm sure a lot of you will be using. So things like using our hot list, things about logging a spec send, things about creating an info record, so a lead vacancy, and how we convert those and show the BD journey in the system. That's a really important part of today. So I'm going to jump straight in. So where we're going to start, I thought what made sense is going back to the lists that we created last time and then really utilising them and thinking about the actions we can run. So for example, if we go over to contacts in the menu, so that's where we started last week. Well, we didn't start there. We started creating some of our great views there. We've got in here our views created. So as an example, we've got developer hiring managers in the last 2 years. So these were client contacts that had a vacancy, that had the job title, all vacancy name contained a developer. In the last 2 years, that job was created. So we know they've been active relatively recently. So now we've got the list in here, is thinking about what you're going to do with the list. And like I say, I'm sure a lot of you are using these already, but just to point out the action side. So number one, you can, of course, select everybody inside that list. Yeah, so very simply, I've got a great candidate that I want to spec out that's in the dev world. These are my list of key people. Want to get that candidate straight over, I can either use it as a call list or I can use it as a mail shot list. If I'm going to mail shot, I can select everybody. I can go to the Mercury button and then I can choose to email to client contact. So I can then launch that. That will log, create an email for me or pop up with a function. It tells you anyone that's been asked not to be emailed. So it will remove them and let us know who that is. So that's fine. So these are the people remaining. So I've got 123 people that I'm mail shotting right now. Now, the important part when you're specking someone over is the regarding field. So my great candidate, some of you may have met or heard of her before, we're going to pop her in, is a lovely Gemma Grimmett. So basically in there, that's the candidate that I'm recommending. Okay, so that's the important part. You can put multiple candidates if you wish. I'm putting just the one today. And you'll notice with the green paperclip, just to be clear, this is meaning that she's got an attachment. So her CV is pulled from her CV folder and attached in. So you can either, if you don't want to send a CV, you can remove it and you can see it goes orange, indicating there's no attachment. And you can just write a nice little blurb or summary of that candidate. Or you can go next to the paperclip and select next to that person's name. And they could have a particular anonymized or spec email, CV that you prefer to send. So you can select the correct CV. Do you see what I mean? You can pick between the CVs in the CV folder and send the right one out. Now, this is the important part. If you don't mark it as a spec send, then it will send as a standard mail shot. So you won't be able to see collectively from a KPI point of view that's a spec send unless you are ticking this. So this is hugely important, right? Now, at this point, you may be putting purposes on emails, things like spec candidate, which means I could report on the email sent in this fashion. Got an idea for you guys as well. I don't know how many of you are using our templates in the system. And actually, Emily, if you wouldn't mind just checking that out with people, are you using our email templates in there? The reason I say that is, we've got our new AI in the system. Some of you may be utilizing that. Basically, if you're using the AI on the candidate, then it will produce a summary pre-written of that candidate. What you could do with emails is get clever with that, create an email template that contains the merge code that pulls through the summary. Do you see what I mean? So when you're specking out, here's a great summary of this candidate, and then you can write why they'd fit, and then it saves a lot of time. So to insert templates, you go insert template, and you would add one in. Okay. So step number 1, action, mail shots, but not just a mail shot, a spec send. So it's going to log that as KPI and BD activity. So that's the first thing. Now, next thing is a call list. You might remember this from last week, but I would 100% at this point utilize the focus view. I want to call through these people rather than just mail shot the whole lot. I'd rather call. So I'm using a focus view. It's just so good. So straight in. Yeah, I'm going to go through the list, surf through all my people in there. And what I can be doing is then checking the timeline. Now, as these are clients who had a vacancy in the last 2 years, you may want to start off by going to the client contact tab, because that's where all their vacancies will be. So you could go and look at active vacancies or closed vacancies. Excuse this, by the way, there's a little delay in this at the moment that's causing slight issues with the load. So we're looking into it. But that should show you all your this. Basically, you should see all the active vacancies, or you might want to look at closed. Then you can see when you're contacting the person, they're the hiring manager. You can talk about the vacancy. Do you know what I mean? You can introduce it into the call and then start chatting. So another clever thing is while you're in here is, of course, I know we all log calls all the time and we're all logging appointments all the time. But when you're logging those calls, it's just remembering how important the purposes are. So as you're doing a new biz call, this can all be reported on. So we're not going too far into this today because we did a lot of reporting last week. But if you start thinking, you can go to activities, look at all your calls that are BD focused that are due for the team this week, or as a business for the month or per consultant, and really focus on how much BD you're doing. So just thinking about that purpose field. So that's using it as a call list. I'm sure you get the idea. So I won't go too far into that. So I'm going to move back to a read-only grid. Now, people you're coming across, one more action that you might be thinking, these people are really good, and you're starting to build up a good relationship with them. You may want to create yourself an additional hot list. Do you know what I mean? With kind of maybe your top 10, top 20 hiring managers in the dev world. But they're the people that you go to first, and then you come back to this list. So thinking about hot lists, the unique thing about a view that we created last week is having the data. You're choosing to build something on logic, and that's the whole USP. Yeah, so vacancies created the last 2 years, XXX. The hot list USP is there's no data, which some people don't like. They sometimes want something built on data, but actually, what if you just meet some great people? They're all project managers, or project directors, or developer managers, but they're just certain people. You've got your top people you speak to. Sometimes there's no logic in that, is there? It's not data. So they're the ones that you could then add into a hot list and build up that list. Okay. So there's your kind of top 3 actions from there is creating hot lists, mail shots and spec sends. And then we've also got phone calls as well. So we're going to move into hot lists a little bit. So if I move on to the left-hand side and talk about hot lists, love this as well. So I'm sure a lot of you are using these in the system. There's 3 ways to create a hot list. One is from the view that we saw just now. One's from the search that we saw last week. And the other one Nice and easy. You can click new, create a brand new list and start adding people to it. Now, let's say that I'm focusing on my corporate finance managers here. So what actions can we do from the hot list? So you'll be pleased to know, quite similar. So it's always going to be mail shotting, right? Calling, that kind of thing. But let's put a couple of clever spins on it. Now, the first thing will be mail shots. That will just be their standard. So you can go into here, mail shot and spec send, exactly like we did on the view. That's no different. Okay. Where you can start getting into it though, and doing things from the hot list, one of my favorite things is we can go into a search and you can go and launch the search from the hot list. So I want to go into there. What the search will do, which is awesome, is that in the filter, can you see that it's put my hot list as a filter? So I'm only seeing my 75 people inside that search. But actually, I'm looking for hiring managers across kind of corp finance or investment banking. So I could go and search for another hot list as well, or a couple of other hot lists that kind of cross over. So I'm like, perfect, let's add that in. So now I'm focusing on 2 hot lists in the search. So these are all my best people in investment banking and corp. And then what I could do is I'm looking for directors across this search. And the big win is I can jump into job title or keywords, whatever your preference is, type in the word and hit enter. And across those 89 people, they're the 20 people I want to focus on. So I have found them instantly just by flicking into the search, putting them in, quick filter. And then I could, of course, go in and select all of them and, of course, mail shot out or add individuals to a hot list. Okay, so lots of things. Of course, you can call. Yeah, you can go through and call through. Now, I can't leave this part without showing you this amazing new filter. We have just done a little feature drop on this that's come into the community, so look out for it. But inside the client contact search, we've now got the option to be able to go and search by recent vacancies. So think about it. We don't even have to always build those views anymore. You do if there's logic from related entities. But if I just want my hiring managers in X area that have had recent vacancies in the last 2 years, just do it in the last, so time frame you could put 2, time scale you could put years. You see what, like we did last week? You could add that little filter in. And then you could put the job title is dev or developer or whatever it's going to be, right? And hit enter. So what I taught you last week, even since then, sorry, 2 weeks ago, seems like last week. Basically, that quickly, we've got new things in the system where this was never here before. In the client contact search, you can now go in and simply go, right, I want to see people with X amount of years or months that have a vacancy with X job title. And watch this space, we've got more little filter options coming soon in that area. So the search is getting better and better all the time. That was one of my best features we've got in the hot list. Now let's think of other ways to work. What about if I want all my corporate finance people that have a job title that's filter that contains manager? Lovely. And I just want to call through that list. And they're the people I want to target today. So another little feature in here that's so good is if I click into this this person's record. There we go. Fabulous. So I'm in Annie's record right now. Another feature, we've got the focus view when you're in a view and you can see the record. If you don't use this already, check this out. You've got a button here called Record Set Navigator, which hopefully you know about, but if you don't, game changer, basically. So when you're going from an actual grid and you're going into a record, it's slightly different. We're not in a view already. We're actually in a hot list. You see what I mean? And we're going through. So you can then filter through and scroll through and surf through your hot list and use it as a call list, which just is a complete game changer. Okay. So let's say, by the way, keep sticking to here. This is also coming soon. I'm just trying not to show you too much too soon because we've got some nice things coming. So basically, let's say that I speak to April and great opportunity going with her they've been trying to, find an exec account manager for a while and they've not been able to. So basically, we've got a bit of an opportunity here with this person. So what we could do is from related, if we go into related Mercury and scroll down, then you'll find we've got something called info records, which again, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. So info from or info hiring manager, because we're in the hiring manager record and we're getting the lead. This is a lead vacancy, by the way. We're getting it from them. That's the one you'd pick. If you're getting the info from someone who isn't the hiring manager, you would then pick info from. Okay. So we're going to this one. So April's mentioned this lead and I'm like, oh yeah, tell me a bit about that. So I click on new info. I'm now creating an info record. We've got exec account manager. There we go. Pop that in. That is the job title. If you can spell it, that will help. Oh, what is going on with my keyboard, guys? Sorry. There we go. And then type position, of course, as appropriate. Is it perm or contract? So you can pop that in. You can see it's already put in April as the hiring manager, and it's already put her in as the info is from that person. Okay. So now anything that you know about the job, so ideally when they're putting their start date, any notes about the actual vacancy. Let's put 2 months. You can maybe quite put in October. There we go. And then anything else we don't need to prioritize it. You can do if you want. You could always add the client in if you know, but at the moment we'll just save and close. There we go. So as you're working through the list as a kind of action is, you could always have the option to then add an info record when you're scrolling through your hot list or you're scrolling through a view, basically. And then what you can do is kind of capture that. Then, of course, go and book your call and say, yeah, let's have a catch up in a couple of days. I'll see what I can do. Book in that follow-up call. That's that new business call. And then continue working through your list. Yeah, so you can keep going through, doing what you're doing. So let's take a pause. We know where our lists live. Great. So now what we're thinking for actual BD actions, we're going to use activities for your calls that are due in your meetings. And then we're going to have spec sends on the left. All your specs you're sending will start collating in there. So you can go and look at those. And we'll be collating info at the same time.
Can I jump in quick, Michelle, with a question? So we've had a question a couple of minutes ago, and it says, I only have info, hiring manager, not info from.
Okay.
And then a follow-up question, does that info come up under the general page or do you have to click on the info page each time?
Good question. Yeah, so it would have to always be so it's always a related. The thing is, because the info record is linking to the one you're in, so it's a related entity, it will always be in related rather than in the general page. So that's the answer to that one. Let's have a look in this list though. There's related common, so we're going to ignore that for a minute. There's related. I've got 2 related Mercury sections in here for some reason, but I do seem to have both in there. No, I don't. Apologies. I thought there was 2 areas. So trying to think why that might be, to be honest. I might do another system. Emmy, let me check another couple of systems just to check for consistency of that.
Yeah.
As we're in a demo system. So let me make a little note. And then we can come back. That's all right on that one.
Mason, I'll let you carry on.
Thank you. Right, so let's go to spec sends. So if we go to spec sends on the left-hand side, this is a list of all the specs that you sent from time, forever. And you could then quite easily go in and go, right, what spec sends have I sent or created? Filter it by whatever time period you want. So let's just say this month. Actually, this year might be safer. You never know in demo systems. There we go. So I've got 16 that I want to focus on. You see what I mean? You can go back and go, right, who have I spec last month? Who have I spec this week? Who have I spec yesterday? Who am I chasing? Did I hear back from Amanda? Have I heard back from Benita? If I haven't, I can go and chase. I can either call, I can email like you normally would. If I have, this is where it's getting even better. Some of the newest features in the last couple of years have really, really enhanced the BD functions. And what I mean by that is if we go into this one here. So I recommended Julius out to Amanda. Actually, let's pick a different one. You'll see why in a second. There we go. So let's go with Kelsey. So basically, the options from here, and these are the things that are pretty new in the last couple of releases, is if you get a win out of this, so you win an opportunity, you can then convert the spec send into an info record, which is awesome. Before, it was quite hard to see the journey. You know, if you won a spec send, how do you know that you won that spec send? Was there a positive reaction from it or an outcome? Now we can see the conversion, or you can convert straight to a vacancy, depending on the scenario. So I'm going to go in and convert that to an info. So let's do that now. And it will just do that for you. Just take seconds. So now we've got an info record in here. The only thing to be aware of is that it will put the name in as the what I'm trying to say here, your subject title of your email, because that's the only thing it can do. It's because it's gone from a spec send and that was the name. It pulls it into the name field on the info. So just change that to the actual job title. You see what I mean? And then continue as normal before. There we go. Now the biggest thing on this one, which is huge, let me save that, is that can you see it on the right hand side? Because Kelsey is the person that actually won us that opportunity, because we sent out her CV, she's now automatically in a little shortlist area on that info as a status of selected. So she's been seen by that particular client. And then what you can do is you can choose to then move her through the process. So if the client does want to see her for interview, you can put as client shortlist. If she doesn't then make it through for any reason, you can reject. And if they do want to see a couple of other candidates for this role, even though she was really good, then you could add other people to the shortlist. So just to be clear, the info shortlist. Okay, so to the info record. So let's recap. So spec sends are on the left-hand side of the menu. You can then go and check through them. They have their own timeline, so you can log calls or actions against them, and you can convert them into info or vacancy. Okay. If I go to not spec send, sorry, so info now. So what you'll be able to see is in my list of, let's go to my active info. That should be your default area. Then I've got my project manager role here, and I've got my exec account manager role. Do you see what I mean? So then you've got a list of all your leads that you're focusing on. So this is the point. We've got a list to go to when we need to find the right person. Then we can run actions from the list that hopefully result in something. And then the results are we've got an info, we've got a spec send, or we've got a callback. They're the main things you'll be looking at. Okay. I don't want to go too far into info. Let's just see if there's anything else worth mentioning in there. Let's have a little look. Yeah, just a reminder of the timeline. This is where tasks get really handy. So you can set yourself task reminders of, if I call back on X date, that's the right time to call and potentially win the business. The tasks are really good here. And whenever you use a activity from a record like this, then you'll find the regarding will be that record. So that is the info. So you can clearly see that there. Next thing, think about it. You've then won, let's say, this info. So say they do want to interview Kelsey, looks really good. Maybe you've had a speculative interview and now they want to properly interview. At this point, I don't know if you've noticed or if you guys know, is that once you get to client shortlist, you notice you can't arrange interviews from an info record. Yeah, so you can submit someone, you can add them, you can submit them, you can reject them, and you can say the client wants to interview, but you can't get past that stage. And it makes sense, doesn't it, really? If they're talking about interviews, then we're very much getting into vacancies, a live vacancy and rates. So where I'm going with this is here, convert. Yeah, so again, you can convert your spec sends into infos and you can convert your infos into a vacancy. Okay. So before we do, just to point out, we've got a qualified date field here. We've got a vacancy area here. So we're going to hit convert. That'll take a little seconds there to work through. There we go, brilliant. And it does three things. One, really nice here, it actually deactivates the info record. So you go back to your list of active things, it's no longer there. Okay. If we scroll down, we've got today as the qualified date. So really, it's like the converted date. So you can use that as reportable data when you won that info. And vacancies, check it out. I've got a vacancy ready. So that'll be sitting in my list of vacancies that I can then work through. Also really nice if we click into the vacancy. Just very briefly to point it out, is that if we go to the candidate tab here, any candidates that were in the info shortlist will convert to the vacancy shortlist. And it will show exactly where that candidate is. And then you can continue working them through the process as you normally would on the vacancy. Okay. Lots to think about. So it'd be interesting to know how much you're using of this. And we can't do that many polls to find out. But I'm hoping that there's some, I'm hoping a lot of your businesses are doing this already. And I knew today's session would be very much a checkpoint for you to go, yeah, are we doing that? Are we doing that? And there might be a couple of little tricks in there. But let's think the next level. So what about if you're reporting potentially off info? So because I think it went down quite well last time to do a couple of reports, I'm just going to sneak one in there at the end. So the reason I'm doing this is because if I go to all the leads this month, and I don't think we looked at this last time, but there's a show charts button. Maybe we pointed it out, but yeah, it's in all the main areas like vacancies and clients and contacts. You will have charts that are predefined, defaulted, that show certain information. Here, if we go to show chart, then, oh yeah, I did this already. Should have deleted it. But anyway, we'll do it again. So basically, normally, let me show you how we start. Let's start from scratch, right? So normally when you come into info and you go to show chart, it looks like this. There is no predefined charts. There we go. That looks better, doesn't it? So this is how your system will look unless you've already been smart and built some in there. What if you want to see all the leads for this month by purpose, by status? Yeah, so status reasons, just to show you before we go and do this. If I go into an info, when you convert an info record, the status is converted. If we go to, let's go back one. My leads, just to show you this. If you don't win an info record, then what you can do is deactivate it. Now, the reason codes in here are really important. So why did you not proceed with that particular lead? So is it the wrong information, unable to contact, or you missed the timescale? Or maybe it went to a different agency, right? So that's why. These are really important things to be looking at. Your leads to last X period, where did they get to and what percentage? So if we go back now to our info list and then go back to our leads this month and go back to show chart, we can go in there and on the three dots, you can start creating charts in here. Again, we're not getting too technical. We'll keep it light, but just to give you ideas. I'm clicking on new. And then what we'll do in there, might take a little second to load. So if there's any questions, now might be a good time. Looks like you're all over it, Emily. So what we really want to do is you can look at it by status reason, you can look at it by consultant, you can look at it by both at the same time. So that's what we're aiming for in here. Apologies, it's being a little slow.
We have had a question
about go for it.
Actually. It was related to leads not converting to info. Is there any reason that could be? Or
do you say that again? You say leads.
Leads.
So leads are separate. They're not necessarily usually in Mercury, so I'd have to check that a bit more. Leads are part of Sales Hub rather than the Mercury app, so they're normally a separate function. So it's leads you use in Sales Hub that convert in. I think it's opportunities that goes into leads into something else. Apologies for it's not precise knowledge there, but in Mercury it's a separate thing that you've got info in Mercury. So it might be something to do with that. I'd have a little look at that. And if there's any further questions from what I've said, then yeah, throw them in.
Perfect, thank you.
That's okay. Great timing, Emily. Well done. So basically, what we're doing is we're creating a legend in here, and let's just go by the name field. That's fine. We don't really need any kind of data on the legend. We just need the horizontal to be on status reason. That's all we care about, is slicing the info records by status reason. So if we do that, let's just do a standard column. There you go. You can do whatever you like. I'm keeping it simple. Give it a good title. So we could do something like info. Yeah, just do it by status. That works. It makes sense, right? And then if you save and close, then suddenly leads this month, if that's where your info for the month, then basically I can see exactly how many we converted, how many are active, how many. So we've got quite a few that we had the wrong information from. So you might be digging into that and go, right, let's do a deep dive. Let's look as a team and check out what information we missed. Could we do it better next time? Could we do a different approach? And this is where you can get smarter with your data. Also, what you could do, let's both edit that chart, is we could put a second horizontal dice in there of owner. So that's the actual person that owns the info, and do a stacked column rather than an individual column. It will stack the two bits of logic together. Let's see how that looks, just to see. It's just a thought, really. Wow, there's some colours in there, isn't there, guys? That'll give you a bit of a smile. So yeah, basically what you could do is you could hover and see within that area which consultants had, statuses within that particular area. So that's how you can do a stacked column, and that's how you can do a single column in there. So it's just to give you ideas, because when I come into these areas, especially things where I want reporting knowledge and BD knowledge and conversion knowledge, I want to see a chart, usually on top of my view that I'm using. So hopefully it'll give you ideas on things you can do. So you can start kind of building different charts in the system, in maybe the spec area. Maybe you could do it in the info area, and that's where your BD reporting will then come up another level. Also, quite interesting as well, if you've got any of your big clients, what you could do is when you've got that view in place and that chart on top, you could then filter by a client. So let's just do this one here. Oh, sorry. There we go. And then you could see for that month, that period, whatever it might be, because KPMG is so important to us, we want to know what we've been doing. So in the last month, we can see total converted is 10. Do you see what I mean? How many did we not get things quite right? Because we want to get things right with that account, or whoever the account managers are for KPMG, then you can work with them specifically to then hone in, improve, work on that area. So there's so much you can do. Again, diving back, I've gone back in a circle, haven't I? Back to data again, because it's that important, really. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it there today. I just wanted to keep it short and sweet. I didn't want to overdo it. I think most people know how to run call lists and mail shots and things. I just wanted to highlight the importance of converting things in the system, key areas to go into, searching from a hot list, and then maybe getting those charts in there. Or one thing, if you do build charts, like views, only you can see them. So you do need to share charts if you want other people to go in and see those charts as well, just to be clear on that point. So, but yeah, I hope it's helpful.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. Brilliant as always.
No
And
worries.
I think on the charts thing, I'm obviously comparing it to Sales Hub from our
Yeah,
use. I
yeah.
think you can click part of the chart and then it changes your list. So you can almost see it
I'll tell you.
from that way. So like if you click the green, I
Oh,
think
sorry. Yes, you're
it
completely
gets
right.
rid of
Apologies. Yeah,
the
yeah.
list. So that's just one bit that I use
Yes.
from
Great.
in our role. So yeah, it's cool
Thank
just to
you.
almost split it out that way. And then obviously you can monitor it.
100%. Yeah, good shout. I should have pointed that out. So well done. Thank you for that. Yeah, really, it's so easy, isn't it? You just click on that visual and then you can get what you need from it rather than having to necessarily physically filter out. So,
Yeah, I guess it depends what numbers you're working with, right? If you're working with fives, tens, or hundreds, so it
yeah,
definitely helps it being visual for
yeah,
sure. And I like the stack chart. Why not?
me too. Like the colour. Cool.
Amazing. Well, we
Thank
haven't had any
you.
questions yet, so I can kind of run through just our
Yeah,
ending section as usual.
that is
So
fine.
yeah, got always as usual ways to keep up to date with what's going on. We'll communicate with you guys as regularly as we need to around things, but equally if there's things that we haven't told you or trying to find out, you can always go to the knowledge base and search for specific terms or sentences that you need. Likewise, I think, Michelle, you alluded to it about our community. So there's amazing ways to keep up to date, videos, links. We put about our events in there. We put new feature drops, etc., etc. So if you aren't already in the community, please reach out to Tony. There's a email address on um, the slide, I believe. I don't know if I can see the right side.
Yep.
The slide. So yeah, just reach out to Tony or reach out to me or Michelle if you can't get hold of him, but he's normally very, very quick to reply, just to make sure you're in there. And then on the webinar front, we've got our link as well, as usual, to get subscribed to all of the webinars that we do. We're going to aim to run them monthly. So if you want to be notified as and when they get published, I will automatically subscribe you. If you want to be taken off the list at any point, can also do that. But I will drop that link in here just so if you guys want to register, I will be able to keep you on that list subscribed. And the next one that we have got penciled in is for August, and that is going to be related to our next release. So Chris, our CEO, is going to be running it. So there's going to be a few other sneak peeks that we probably wouldn't normally get, that he's going to be talking us through. So all things released, all things kind of the direction of travel for the business. And also you've got a Q&A with him. So myself and Chris will be on that in a few weeks' time. Can't believe August is going to be around the corner. But yeah, that will be our next one. So I will drop again a link to that. But if you sign up to our webinar subscription, I will enroll you as well. So that's it from me. Michelle, any final words?
No, that's it. I just want to thank you all for joining the BD Masterclasses, and I hope they were helpful. And any comments about them, please put them into the chat just to let us know if they were useful. But yeah, just thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a lovely rest of your day and hope to see you on the next session.